Welcome to Storyhub, a podcast for customer-obsessed D2C leaders. The heroes of your brand story are your customers. Your best customers stay longer and spend more, driving growth as they love your products, brand, and their experience. On the podcast, we'll be talking to D2C leaders, innovative tech companies, and thought leaders from retail and hospitality about their observations, inspirations, and the simple hacks of crafting the experiences that keep customers coming back. Welcome to Storyhub.
Their life has changed dramatically in that place of extreme burnout.
I have a problem in my life. This is my solution to it.
So in other words, you have a corporate culture in which leaders are not bad-mouthing one another. The number one reason people love their job.
If you have as much passion for your customers as Nate does for his, you're off to building an amazing brand. Today's guest is Nate Brown, Director of Customer Experience at Arise, co-founder of the CX Accelerator Slack channel, prolific speaker, writer, LinkedIn poster, dapper dresser, and just a super passionate customer advocate. So thrilled to have him on the show today. If you could take a moment to like and subscribe to the podcast, that would be fantastic. And with that, on to the conversation with Nate. Welcome to the podcast. Hey Nate, it's thank you so much for joining the podcast today. The man, the myth, the legend, and so thankful to have you here today. Just for the audience, I've been talking to Nate. I feel like there's been a conversation that goes back a few years. We were musing before back in the green room about when it first started, and not quite sure. With COVID, the time compression distortion field of COVID has made it all the more complicated. But I know on the Slack group and now with the Rise, coming from UL Laboratories. So you've had quite a journey in the customer experience.
Straight out of the lab.
Yeah,
so the connection's real, Andy. Even if I can't quite remember where we met, I definitely have been admiring your work and absolutely thrilled to be here. So hello, everybody.
Absolutely, thanks. And Nate brings color where I bring something more monochromatic. So,
intelligence, actual personality. I got to make up for it with these clothes. There you
go. There you go. Well, I love to dig in a little bit. Coming a customer experience. And UL Laboratories, like that's a very fascinating starting point. Like I'm very happy not to be electrocuted every time I see the seal. But
you're welcome.
Tell us a little bit about that origin story.
Yeah, so I was selling postage meters on the streets of Jacksonville, Florida. Turns out I wasn't very good at selling the postage meter, and got a call from a very outdated resume on Monster.com from a Nikki Garcia, who was representing Pure Safety, which would soon thereafter be acquired by UL. And very grateful for all of that, because that's what really launched my career into a special place. That was a special organization doing some really neat things. And I was able to thrive in the context of UL, given all kinds of opportunities to just gobble, to learn, and was hungry for that. Had some great leaders that were mentors for me, and the compelling safety mission of simply making the world a safer place, and all the amazing applications of that into the extremes of safety science. When you say labs, there were real labs that tested everything from safes falling down stories onto the ground to see if they shatter, to implementing incredible wind conditions to see what would happen to these UL certified items that were placing on shelves with that UL mark to say, yeah, this is going to be safe inside your home. And on average, there's like 300 things in the home that have that UL mark on them. So it's an incredible organization doing some neat things, and it was such a pleasure getting to serve there.
And were their customers must have been, the actual producers of these things working in conjunction. That was, very very much a B2B to C scenario.
There's all kinds of divisions of UL, but absolutely in that traditional sense, you've got retailers that are looking to have items placed on the shelf. In order to do that, they need, in many cases, the UL mark. If it's an electronic of any kind, or could be emitting harmful chemicals. And as an example, think of furniture, and we'd have to put the furniture in these incredible devices that would measure the off-put coming off the furniture as an example. So not just electric, not just fire safety, all kinds of applications for in-home safety. And it's a different relationship with the customer, Andy, because think about the fact that in many cases, we are being paid by and we're serving this retailer that's producing these items. We're really in the business of protecting the consumer. So it's actually the customer that we're having to go back to and be like, no, this doesn't cut it. Like we're going to need to do these things. And in legacy sense, UL was kind of this is many decades ago, but kind of gained a bit of a bad reputation in many contexts of almost being the government and just making it incredibly difficult to deal with them. To be able to place the products and to accelerate that. It was the time and the effort-filled experience of achieving the mark that you needed to go to market. But it's fun to see how much the organization has evolved since then in its customer-centric mentality and the fact that, we need to help. Not only do we need to protect the consumer, we need to help this client to get their product on the shelf. And make that as seamless as we possibly can for them. So it's been a fun evolution there.
No, and it's such an interesting thing to think about, like a primitive in the customer experience, because like we all know, like the customer experience, it should be delightful and remarkable and memorable and all these things, but like and safe. Like it's such a foundational element that it's I was talking to someone once about all the work that the National Oceanic folks do on all sorts of things. There was actually a book by the Moneyball guy on this.
Nice.
And it's just these charts that they have on, like, if someone falls overboard, which way do they drift? And it's like someone's out there counting.
Good to know. Yeah.
And UL feels like that same kind of primitive element that is such background radiation, but every time we're not electrocuted or burning down our house, we're benefiting from the good work that they do.
Well, it's a cool thing to think about, Andy, and I do like the language you're using there. Yeah, I mean, it's that circle of psychological safety that we're establishing around our people and the communities that we serve, in the most essential ways. But it changes the nature of the relationship and therefore the measurement. And UL was really big on like ease of business score, not so much like referability, like the classic NPS question. You're going to refer your family to use UL? Well, they're probably not going to be. It's not, but is it easy for you to go through the process of becoming UL certified? That is what really matters in terms of that long-term loyalty and being able to keep that market share that UL had established. So that's really the challenge here to the audience. Think about what really matters to your people that you're trying to serve. What is going to generate loyalty, and do your measurements actually reflect that?
Yeah, no, and that's your point about the culture of safety, the mission. One of the things, just reflecting from my own experience, we had a business in banking. We serve community banks, and so part of it was always, we're a bunch of tech people in New Haven, Connecticut, serving community banks and credit unions all across the country. And it was like, okay, how do we get our team to really understand and share a culture with these people? And so we had this Adopt a Bank program where we'd send the team member out to the middle of Illinois or Nebraska or wherever they were, just to begin to understand, like they're using us within their own lives. And so you need to have this connection in order to have a mission. And then, because showing up to move a KPI is one thing, showing up to help another person is another.
Oh gosh, Andy, yeah, we could talk about that all day in terms of, I mean, CX is an opportunity for life change, right? I mean, we're making life better and easier for the people that we serve inside the organization and out of it. And I remember wrestling with what you just said, Andy, and also reading Denise Leone's brilliant book of Fusion, as she talks about the authenticity of culture and extending that in the form of a gift outward towards the customers. But that authentic culture has to be there, or else the people can't give that gift. And if they're trying, they're going to burn out. It's not going to feel right to the customer or them, and you're going to lose your best customers. You're going to lose your best talent. You got to establish that integrity through that whole equation. And UL was doing CSR, corporate social responsibility, so well. But at some point, it kind of became separated from the safety mission of making the world a safer place. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, this happened over years, but like that disconnection became very real. And as I was reading that Fusion book, I kind of saw it for what it was. It was like, we have an opportunity here to bring purpose back into our corporate social responsibility that is relevant to the work. And if you look at Primed to Perform, that brilliant resource by Neil Doshi and Lindsay McGregor, it talks about play, developing curiosity and excitement, but about the work itself. Right. So another validation point. So what I did there is established a relationship with the Adventure Science Center in Nashville. And we founded this event of Safety Day, summer safety, and UL would come in and act as actual ambassadors to the community directly to educate kids mostly, but anybody around home safety. And it was so fun. And getting to be a software developer, that it kind of become maybe disconnected from that mission of making the world a safer place. And then getting to see these kids' eyeballs as you put a fork in a microwave and have it. Like, that's why we don't do that. Like that is important. I can now see and getting to be that direct ambassador for the safety mission. Right. You go back to work on Monday, you're like, I know what I'm doing. And this is really important. So that's what we're looking to cultivate, Andy, is connecting that meaningful purpose into the everyday work.
Well, and it's so amazing, because once obviously our primary business here at Storyhub is with e-commerce brands, and you realize that those best customers that love you, they love you for their reasons. And oh, by the way, they're worth 5, 7, 10 times more in terms of lifetime value. Okay, yes, that's the metric that warrants this entire endeavor. But oh, by the way, it's fun because human beings are pretty, there's a whole set of cocktails in our brains that give us rewards when we help others.
Oh, and cocktail.
Yeah.
We use dopamine too much, Andy, and we're trying to force this foster competitive. You better accomplish this metric, or else you better beat your coworkers, or else. Serotonin is the chemical cocktail that we should be producing, and we don't do it. What are we doing, Andy?
Amen. Well, that's I mean, and that's it. It's when you look at empathy, curiosity born of empathy. Like, that is such a powerful force multiplier, because we've all watched people go from sort of disengaged to engaged. And it's like, well, what are they engaging with? Like, oh, yes, there are those humans who will engage with deep algorithmic work or the most fiercely competitive. But, most are not Spock. Most are more like Kirk. and there needs to be that human connection to really get them to that next level, because you think about it all the time, like the difference between a disengaged person and an engaged person is the difference between having your weight on your heels and your weight on your toes. It's not a big move, but it's a move that makes all the difference, right?
But that move eclipses the length of your entire mind.
I
mean, what we're doing in the work of CX is trying to enhance perceptions towards the brand. So that is the work of EX as well. These people that we're trying to give a good gift to, that they can authentically pass on. That's where this work really begins. And I love how you say that. And it's somewhere in between, right? I mean, the Spock and the Kirk, two extreme examples, and we're somewhere in that spectrum. But being able to engage people with relationship is generally so important. And Tiny Pulse has some great data on this. They're one of the biggest and best pulse survey vendors out there, and they serve a huge percentage, like 70 to 80% of the Fortune 500 companies. So a huge data set here, and they've made it clear the number one reason people love their job. Can you guess what it is, Andy? The number one reason people love their job.
Give it to us.
It is your colleagues. It's your peers. It's not your boss. That's important. It's not the company itself and the purpose of the company, as much as I try to say that's what it should be. And I do think that's what it should be. But like what really locks somebody in locks your top talent in to want to be at that company long term and do great work is their
Your
relationship to their peers.
Yeah, their tribe.
Tribal leadership sitting right over here. And it's amazing how compelling that work is to demonstrate when we serve in context with great people, we do great things.
So Nate, you've grown this passion, and where you're taking it, and you launch a community around these ideas to try and because I know, having lived in the customer service role and customer experience role, where every day is it's kind of like being a cop. It's kind of tough to not get jaded sometimes because you're dealing exclusively with problems all day, every day. And so you did this amazing work to foster a community of the practitioners, to bring them together and that, to refill their tanks with us. So can you share a little bit about building that? Because I think that's actually where our paths first crossed.
Yeah, it might have been CX Accelerator, and it has been a labor of love. But Andy, you may or may not know this. It did not start that way. I was in a very dark place in my career. I was going where so many CX professionals either have been or maybe are now or maybe will be in the future, in that place of extreme burnout. Okay. And just hitting resistance in that moment in my career and wondering if this really is the work for me. And I was reaching out beyond the walls of my office to try to find some inspiration, to try to find some enthusiasm and some excitement out there that could help me to get over my hump. And I was not finding it. I'd been blogging, but what I really wanted to do as I was learning and I was growing, what was to be cultivating a meaningful dialogue around the work, especially in these moments of realness, where it's like, I'm not in a great place in my career, and I'm trying to find a way to navigate around this. Can't do that through a blog vehicle. Not very effective.
Right.
But a community now. And so, Slack offered incredible free functionality to establish this digital community, and we're sitting there like, why not? Why would we not do this? And locked in with some incredible people: Jeremy Watkin, Justin Robbins, Jenny Dempsey, Kay Chapman, Becky Roman, Erica Morois, and we started jamming to create what would become a very present and very helpful, very meaningful nonprofit CX community called CX Accelerator. And it just made me come alive, and I believe it's made many others come alive and navigate through difficult points in their career, or even if it's not a moment of crisis necessarily, just move forward and gain that little bit of inspiration, that little bit of edification from a peer that's out there doing something good and creative. Just put that little smile on your face. And again, serotonin. It's a community of serotonin. We are serving one another. We are just in a very authentic, very generous way, just equipping one another with ways to accelerate this work of customer experience inside of our organizations, because we know how important it is, Andy.
Right.
If we go back to that idea of this work is what is making people's lives better and easier, have we ever needed that more than what we need right now in our society? Have we ever needed connection more? I mean, the epidemic of loneliness, our U.S. Surgeon General just came out last Tuesday with this incredible report on the epidemic of loneliness and how all-encompassing it is for our society, how dangerous it is. CX leaders are community builders by nature. We have those gifts in us. And when we can model that out in the form of a community like CX Accelerator, it makes all of us better.
So let's talk about that community, because it's the idea that there's a brand promise and a community that fosters around that. And one of the better ones that I've seen is REI, and the experience there is like, we get people outside, and it's such a simple thing. It's like, listen, and if we help them do that, they will need stuff. You focus on the community and the business will come. And it's probably very scary for many folks, but it creates gravity. It's like community is one of those things really hard to start, but really, really powerful when it gets moving. So, love some like so. Who have you seen doing a great job at building that community?
Yeah, I'll use a couple non-traditional examples, and absolutely would refer folks who are curious on this topic. And if you're a CX leader, you should be. I really believe this is the future of our work, is creating meaningful connections outward to our customers in the form of community, and that can take a lot of different forms. And I'm going to go real quick, Andy, into what I mean in that, and then I'm going to offer up some examples here. But I do believe it starts with what Patrick Lencioni calls the team of one. It's your senior leadership group that are in community with one another. So in other words, you have a corporate culture in which leaders are not bad-mouthing one another. They're not tearing each other down. They're not trying to create their own personal legacy and push their own agenda and further their own career. They're truly, sincerely serving the mission of the organization above their own personal needs. And they're supporting and helping one another. That's your senior leadership community, that team of one. And without that, you're going nowhere.
Right.
That is the first and most powerful community that gives life, that gives authenticity to the other two communities that I'm about to talk about. But I think you have a comment.
No, I was actually, my screen went off for a second, so I just had to wake it up. No, amen. Because in the absence of that community, there's lead that seeps into the groundwater.
Yeah, no, I mean, you just can't do it. So then the next community is your community of employees, your internal ambassadors, and trying to awaken that sense of employee advocacy and that sense of, I love this organization. I am protecting this brand and the promise that this brand makes, regardless of my role, regardless of which level I'm on. You create, going back to tribal leadership, that level 5 tribe of life is great because this organization is helping others to make their lives great. And I have great pride in what I get to do every day. So that's that second community. Third, when you've earned the right, when those communities exist, you get to co-create with your customers. You get to invite them in to a community mechanism, to your brand. And that brand community, whether that's in the form of a digital community or some physical extension of that, it's rallied around the brand core. It's that meaningful mission. Let's take ULs. Making the world a safer place. You're inviting your customers into that brand promise to co-create with them. What does that look like to you? Let's do this together. And that's where loyalty is generated. That's how great brands get smarter through true voice of customer insight. Not in the remedial sense of how was that experience for you on a post-interaction survey. It's asking that dreaming question of how can we fulfill our mission better? What does it look like for you if you think 5 years from now, how can we get ahead of this? And co-creating alongside your customers, that is what great brands do. And a lot of this, I was inspired through Mark Schaefer, his brilliant resource, Belonging to the Brand. And he's got so many great examples in there about organizations who have led with this community mechanism and become incredibly meaningful organization. I'll offer two quickly here in the Nashville area. The first being Dave Ramsey's organization, Ramsey Solutions. Incredible. Well, I mean, he's more than a radio personality, and love him or hate him. He's a controversial, somewhat polarizing figure, but the community that he has cultivated here in Nashville, you would not believe the loyalty that he garners from his people and from that organization's people, because I mean, they are making people free from the burden of financial debt.
Amen.
And when you hear that debt-free scream, your blood, you're just going to get goose pimples because it's incredible, because you know that those people that organization has served, their life has changed dramatically.
100%.
And the serotonin, the pride that you get from seeing that life transformation, it's remarkable. And they're bringing customers into that community with them. They're freeing people from debt and impacting lives in this tremendous way. That is a community worth taking note of. Another one that I'll offer quickly that's a little more surprising is Schneider Electric is another just incredible community lever here in the Nashville area. So they're a utilities company, right? But in their very nature. But I mean, they have this incredible tagline of life is on. It's more than just turning on a light switch. It's like life is on. And they serve their communities, and they just help to make to make life better and easier for people in all these different ways. It starts with making sure that they have access to great utilities,
Right.
and extending that in all these amazing ways. So, I mean, they have these loyal ambassadors inside the organization, and they're inviting their customers into this meaningful community, and they garner fierce loyalty in the entire formula because of that. So, I mean, it's just remarkable what brands of any kind can do when they rally around this community concept to earn loyalty in the best, most sustainable way.
Yeah. Well, it's, when you talk about community, because I always think about the durability, loyalty is a reflection, loyalty, aka repeat purchases, however one quantifies it, is a function of getting a human being to say, hey, this is my solution to whatever, and these are my people, and this is all of these different connected points, because I have a problem in my life, this is my solution to it, and it's a rewarding one. It's not a transactional one, it's a rewarding one, and therefore I keep coming back, because in the end it's like there's default mode commerce, Amazon, Target, Walmart, whatever, where so if you haven't captured someone's imagination and sort of integrated them into your brand in some way, like the next time they see the pair of shoes, they're just going to buy a pair of shoes. Like it's not going to be that. So that transformation. So speaking to the internal culture, and because it's interesting as talking with my own kids and things, like what do you want to be, and it's like an accountant or whatever it might be, whatever particular skill set, but it's like we never ask the next question, which is, who do you want to do that for? Because that's so you're an accountant, got it, but like there's no implicit meaning in counting numbers. There's those who pay better and those who pay worse, but do you want to do that for Save the Children or Goldman Sachs? Yep. Like, because how you experience your day, to your point about the tribe around you, is a function of the collective. The people are collected against a mission. Because there's, Save the Children is going to have a very different group of people than Starbucks is going to have a very different group of people than Goldman Sachs, and not to pick on Goldman, but it's a different thing. And so where your rewards come from have to be, aligned with the mission. And that's, a super exciting thing. And I don't know if you've been watching like all the B Corp stuff, where, corporations putting purpose into their documents so that they're forcing double bottom lines, triple bottom lines, and that is a very interesting phenomena, because now it's like we're here to serve our customers, and the better we serve our customers, the better we serve our mission. And whether it's Patagonia or lots of folks are doing this, but it's like I love this B Corp dimension, because it's making official the mission.
I mean, businesses have a responsibility to the world. I mean, they're making a promise of here's how we can make a significant difference to make people's lives better, easier, what have you. And so the de-emphasizing of the significant driver of quarterly revenue and that quarterly shareholder model. Customer experience is a long-term deal. It does not fit into that quarterly bucket. Mm-hmm. This is not something we can experiment with and demonstrate a revenue difference in the context of a quarter or even a year. This is something we have to earn over time and establish in the vehicle of a customer-centric culture transformation. So the fact that there is that emphasis and that more long-term thinking of how are we actually serving, are we earning loyalty in the right ways, versus are we extrapolating short-term revenue from our customers? That's the best thing that can happen to customer experience leaders who want to earn the right to grow this work over time and see their initiatives take root. So it's wonderful, Andy.
Well, one of the interesting things, as we've done our work here at Storyhub, what we realized is that there are these triggers, because to your point, a a valuable customer will be valuable over time, and therefore their value is never really realized in a given quarter, a given month, a given, it's not, that's not the type of thing. I only needed what I needed that month, that quarter, that whatever. And so the value is not there. So one of the things that we realized was that it's about understanding the people with whom you have a durable relationship. So these are your fans, these are your loyalists. And so it's like, okay, well, how are they different from the one and done customers, the customers who came, they dabbled, they tire kicked, however we want to think about it, and they didn't want it. And so, and it may have been your failing, it may have been their desire, it may just have been a mismatch between the two. But what we started to do is look at sort of thinking about customers, good, better, best. And so when is that? It's the second purchase conversion. It's like you need to look at the second time, because the second time today, most brands we see, like, they recognize that as a repeat purchase. They look at the dollar value, but really it's unlocking customer lifetime value, LTV, downstream.
Absolutely.
But they don't count it. And so therefore there's this magical moment where a human being with all the options in the world, who has purchased your thing one time and has full knowledge of the product and the service, they have full knowledge, they're choosing yes again.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's a magic moment. And everyone is looking at all of this data and they're not looking at that. I'm like, that seems like a really important thing that you should be tracking, because if we're delivering the right experience and we affect a lift in those number of magic moments per month, then that's like the missing KPI in my mind, and it's the KPI that CX can so own, and it again ties them to value, but the value is never now value, the value is later value, but at least you can count it.
I mean, Forrester has recently articulated that one of the reasons why CX leaders are, many of them frankly, are on the chopping block, is because they're not demonstrating ROI towards the customer experience, which is a huge shame, because we know it's the right thing to do for people, it's the right thing to do for the business, but a lot of times we're just not getting credit for the goodness of the work that is being done. So what you're saying, Andy, is so true. So I love kicking that off with a Gene Bliss customer growth engine, which is simply volume and value of your customers. By quarter, you're looking over quarter. Have we earned the right to grow our customer base? Yes or no? And why? I mean, it's just whole numbers. And then the value too. Are we expanding the share of wallet? Are we extending the customer lifetime value? That's when NPS matters. It's when you look at your promoters and you say, what's the customer value, the customer lifetime value of those promoters versus your passive and detractors? Then you can start to quantify, when you push people into that upper category of promoter, you can say, here's the customer lifetime value that we garner from that evolution, from that transformation of people from passive into the promoter category. You can start to put that in some dollar numbers. And that is ROI.
Well, one of the things, and this speaks to the serotonin point earlier, is that promoters and detractors are still like, do you want to be known as a promoter or a detractor? Like, that's, as a human being, it's like my first market research conference, I saw, sort of all the geniuses doing their genius thing. And I'm like, so who wants to do this to their mom? Like, like these feel like a rat in a maze kind of thing, and promoter and detractor aren't terms of endearment. It's like retention, it just doesn't feel like it's love. How about love? Love is nice. So, relative to serotonin, one of the focuses of our work, and just want to get your reaction to it, is that we have this best customers, and so they're not promoters, they're our best customers, and that it's a statistically mined cohort, and and NPS is a factor, but they're our best customers. So let's refer to them as people, and then we model personas within that have names. So now it's Sarah, and she's from New England, and she has, and her favorite products are this, and she finds us in that way, because it's like there's all this data that we can animate, but it sort of it remains data and not the people behind it. And that was something that we just saw over and over, because it's like, okay, this isn't yet triggering empathy.
Yes.
And if it's not triggering empathy, it's not driving serotonin. It's not doing all of the things that compound to the goodness that you're so excited about. So that's been our angle of attack, is like, we need to reanimate these people. And obviously, when you're dealing with 10,000 a month, it's not at the individual level.
Yeah.
But it's using the persona model that is how product work is done. It's how product work has been using personas forever, but it's never been used it has been used less in CX and marketing to really understand the people, because the thesis is that by understanding them on a more human level, one can contemplate the community that might entice them and reward them.
I'm over here having to take notes because I don't want to forget my response to all the brilliant things you just said. And yeah. So, I mean, let me start with this concept that I've been feeling more and more, I guess, passionate about, is this idea we can't be all things to all people. We try so hard to just put marketing out there and get as many customers as we can into the acquisition engine. What I love about what you're saying, Andy, is sometimes it's worth being a little bit more selective in that process and a little bit more targeted in that idea of marketing, to invite the best customers in and to go out in the right places and find them. Those customers that we know are going to result in loyalty and that enhanced share of wallet, those ones that we can serve the very best through our brand core. That's going to yield way more long-term value than us trying to just get every Joe Smo off the street to do business with us. So I love that targeted approach. Next, voice of customer should be motivating. We should be connecting people that work for us to the people that they serve. That should be like the overarching goal of our voice of customer engine, to use that Gene Bliss term. And we forget that. We just use it to like punish and bring up garbage about how the experience can and should be better, which is awesome. I'm not dismissing the value of that. But like 80% of what voice of customer should do is to demonstrate how we're doing a great job. And to be incentivizing people intrinsically through that lever of, you made a difference for these folks. Look at this here, this qualitative bit here, this narrative here. Look at the impact to this metric over here, which we know represents life change in this way. You're doing an incredible job. That's what voice of customer gets to do for us. We're connecting people to people through that engine. So I mean, we need to do a lot more of that and a lot less of the science of voice of customer, but taking the soul out of it.
Right. Well, it's you said that because one of the things that I've been contemplating about is this idea, because we sit on top of all of this voice of customer, whether it's through the service channels and Zendesk and Gorgeous and all those guys, or the review channels or social channels.
All that.
And I'm and this is a very meta comment. I love podcasts. Well, I'm like, wouldn't I love to have my customer in my ear? Like to have a weekly podcast in that format that is talking as if they're the customers in your ear about like what they love, some challenges that they face, but it's all in that format, because it's not about a scatter plot of it. It's about the voice in your ear.
Exactly.
And the tone in the voice and all those things. And I'm like, that would be, I mean, like as a CEO, I'm like, I would love that. Like not a little.
I mean, that's what modern voice of customer technology starts to open up for us to be able to do. It's these quick, incredible little mini video testimonials recorded so easily off a mobile device. It's all these audio narratives that we can capture very, very effectively. Or on the more data-driven side, any customer interaction we can be capturing and putting in the form of customer sentiment. in such a powerful way. I mean, scale it up to what, and we can reach into all these third-party pockets where customers are talking about us, but they're not structured channels, but we can still take the treasure trove of that data, bring it into our voice of customer engine, and do meaningful things with that to gain insight and to improve our experience. It's awesome what that form of technology is doing for us as CX professionals. I know there's a lot of scary tech out there where everybody's kind of panicking a little bit right now. I'm still just excited about how much better we should be doing this work based on the enhancements to right here, this voice of customer capability that we have.
Right. Well, hey, before we wrap up, I'd love understand what you're doing with community at Arise, and give us a little bit of insight there.
Well, thank you for that, Andy. Yeah, Arise is a cool organization. So, I mean, we have this phenomenal community of service partners, which are folks that found some really cool work-life balance by being able to do great customer service work from their home. And we're connecting them with these amazing brands that are looking for that bit of flexibility. Any organization's going to have those peaks in customer demand where it doesn't fit your 8 to 5 schedule. It doesn't fit into your box as an organization. So being able to partner with a Rise to tap into this wonderful community of service partners and do a great customer experience in those moments of burst capacity, and also feel this wonderful community of people that are finding this work-life balance. It's a cool equation. So it's been exciting, getting to be a part of that and representing that, and just looking for ways to continue to enhance both sides of that experience, the experience of the service partner and the experience of these brands that we have the privilege of serving. But it's a powerful model.
That's super interesting. Super interesting. Well, Nate, this is as always been chock full of energy and passion, and I'm so thankful you always bring it, and to be an early guest on the podcast. I'm so thankful. So with that, where can folks find you?
Yeah, I love Twitter. I know a lot of people jumped right off that wagon, but I still love the connection I have with folks there. I love Jeremy Watkins' CX question of the day. So one hashtag to follow there, but I'm there at CX Accelerator. Still a big LinkedIn guy, so definitely find me there. Just type in Nate Brown. I actually pop up. Didn't used to be that way, so now I'm in the top 10 Nate Browns on LinkedIn. So, hey, Mom.
just look at the color of the picture, find the jacket, and you'll be in the right place. Red.
You'll notice that pop up, and then of course CX Accelerator. Come and join us. It is a free nonprofit community. It will always be free. It is meant to be that gift and to edify and to admonish CX professionals along their entire career journey. So put in your personal email address. Because we love the company you're with now, but you might not always be there. We're concerned about you and your CX career. We want to be there for you. So come and join us.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Nate. Really appreciate it. And what's the next in real life conference you're going to be at?
Ooh, well, I'm super excited for ICMI because they let me host that one. So that's in the fall, and ICMI Digital is like next week. I need to record some things for that. The next in-person conference, I might get to be at CCW in Vegas. I'm not sure if I'll get to attend that one or not, but if I do, I'll see many of you there, I'm sure.
Great. Well, thanks again, Nate, and appreciate it, and have a great week.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody.